And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. And one, I know y'all know this just looks different all around the board because you're clearly not accustomed to me talking as we do anything for Your Honor. But we are back with episode 218 of Your Honor. It's Big O Belt, Lucas, Najir. What's going on, sir?
I am good, and I am extremely sorry for the late recap here, but we're going to get it done. We're going to have fun. We're back on track for episode 9 of season 2, so 209 next week, or
I'm
this
gonna
week, shall
say
I
like
say.
life be life in at times. And yeah, hey, do you understand how many shows we still put out? We miss one show, and you all, which we greatly appreciate, everyone who loves these reviews. But for y'all to go on another
Uh,
review and bring up, wait a minute, where's your honor at? Where's your honor at? One, we're grateful for it because it shows that you all do appreciate that we do this.
yeah.
And at times things may happen. This is just one of those special circumstances where life hits you, and we had to take care of personal business that delayed this one. But we're still gonna
Yeah.
have a little fun with this episode. Again, this is part 18, and it starts off kind of where we left part 17 with Fia and Michael.
Yeah.
And here we see that they're living together. We get the whole atmosphere of this. I'm not going to say happy family, but just a different turn of events for Fia to get away from her family and finding refuge with Michael. What did you think about just opening this episode this way to just show us the direction that Fia is in?
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, I think, and even if you wasn't aware and how evident it was that it makes sense, I think by the end of the episode, you start to think like, everybody's scrambling right now. So anybody who
Mm-hmm.
can find a home is obviously good for them. But as a lot of doors have shut, as a lot of bridges have been burnt, and as a lot of people's true colors have shined, these are the last two people standing, and it makes
Mm-hmm.
sense. And I think they could both benefit from one another
Yeah.
emotionally, and I also think that for the sake of Baby Rocker, I think this what makes sense, especially with in the forefront about like breaking the cycle and breaking the
Yeah.
change, as Fia is very much aware of now. Photo proof.
Hey, speaking of things that benefit people, even in this atmosphere where we have Fia moving in, which is weird because she's living with Michael, but technically it's Michael's mother-in-law's house that
Yeah,
magically just is not around at this present time, and everybody's just moving in
I
into
was
her nice
thinking
little
that.
house with no issue. We also get Olivia, who's now coming back around again, and who gives Michael the proposition of using Fia to get closer to the Baxters. Now we can see the resistance that Michael has to this idea because he does understand that this is a delicate balancing act from him attempting to, if he was to attempt to use Fia and it ruined a relationship he could have with his grandson. What do you think about Olivia's approach here of her saying basically like, hey, feels like the good Baxter here. You need to use her to get dirt on her dad.
I think there's a lot of people who isn't giving Olivia the type of outrage that they give other characters, because at this point now she just does whatever she wants and
Yep.
doesn't care who's a casualty of it, and she is truly obsessed with her target, her end game. And maybe it is the bias, because I whatever Rosie wants, I'm like, yeah, okay, I got you, no problem. I'm gonna put up. But yeah, it's just weird, and I love how the character is done, because even without the bias, I thought that Olivia has been a great addition for this season. But I love how like we haven't seen her in maybe 2 episodes, I think, and then she comes
Yep.
back and she's like, "Oh, you forgot? Oh, I still need mine. So, how about you just do that?" And like, I love how she was like, "Oh, I heard you and Nancy did a thing. Okay, that's
Yes.
cool, but I still need you to do what I need to do for me." And I was thinking, I started to think like, wait, what do she want at this point? I forgot. Oh, she still wants the bastards. Okay. Anywho, so yeah,
Yeah.
so it's just interesting how like she just doesn't care. No logic, no reasoning, just like, listen, do
Hey,
this. Go get the
look,
bat, go get Jimmy for me.
Olivia shows up like Master P when a check is cleared. Like Olivia's like, oh, by the way, I need you not to forget my money. Don't forget my percentage, Michael. Like, you still owe me here. It's just funny to see her pop up this way, and it's because we haven't seen her for a couple episodes, or she hasn't been necessarily the focal point of Michael for a couple episodes. So to have her come out here when Michael is kind of at a vulnerable state here, with Fear moving back in, with him getting to know his grandson, and now he's like thrown back into remembering like the only reason you're out of prison is to help take this family down while you're trying to also build that relationship.
If you didn't use vulnerable, what would be another word you would use? Because
if Michael,
because I see like
if in a vulnerable position for Michael, I mean it's
because like I feel like maybe for the first time this season, even more so than trying to find the killer who killed his wife, he seems way more determined to protect Fia than anything. He's just like, and I even think by even not letting Olivia yo-yo him around this episode, he was like, listen, I got 2 words for you and it ain't DX, but he basically was like, we're done. And like, I believed him this time. I haven't believed him at all when he tried to come from underneath her games and whatever bit of she has on him. But I actually believed him this time, Rob, where I'm like, you know what? He not playing around when it comes to fear. That's just what it is.
So do you think it's fear, or is it the connection that fear brings him of Adam through his grandson?
Could be,
because I think he could possibly throw Fear under the bus if Rocco wasn't around necessarily. Possibly. And it's not meaning that Fear is a bad person or he even thinks Fear is a bad person. It has nothing to do with that. But she is a connection to Adam, and with this child, it's the only thing left that he truly loves and cares about.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if it's Fear as much as it's Rocco.
Yeah, possibly, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know if vulnerable is the word here, but there's definitely
but I'm talking about vulnerable with his feelings at this point, because he's vulnerable at the point that his heart is out on the table right now for Rocco and Fear, and then Olivia just pops back in like Suge Knight all of a sudden. Like you can't pull back those emotions anymore.
Yeah,
like, and that's what I meant by vulnerable. Not necessarily vulnerable in the sense of danger, but vulnerable in the sense of everything is on the table right here for Michael right now. He seems at peace at especially the beginning of this episode. When they're just in the house together, he feels at peace up until Olivia comes through that door and all his peace goes away.
I feel you. Or I'm with you a little bit here. I definitely feel like there's a sense of peace, but also feel like there was a protective guard dog nature when she popped in, because I feel like other times he was startled, and I feel like this time he was just kind of like, all right, you know what? That's it. This is it. Yeah, this is it.
But speaking about people being in a vulnerable, dangerous place, the next thing we get is Big Mo celebrating the opening of her club and almost being ran over by Gina at the same time. I mean, the duality of such a scene is amazing between these two actresses here. Instead of just focusing on this one scene, I want to focus on Gina's mindset through this entire episode. Because from this reintroduction of this character in this episode here, as she almost runs over Big Mo, and that look that she gives, and Big Mo says the most interesting thing in the world when she was like, basically like, no, she's extremely dangerous. You cannot just play her like she's not.
Yeah, he says she's all bark, and she's like, nah, not her. And if you're gonna go to that, I want to know what you think before you even ask me. What level of acknowledgement was this here? Because
it's almost acknowledging that Big Mo may see Gina as a bigger threat than Jimmy, because she fully understands the levels and how far Gina's willing to go to get what she wants. And Jimmy, no matter whatever happens between Big Mo and Jimmy, it's a certain amount of respect that's still thrown in there, because he understands who she is as much as she understands who he is. Back to the whole thing about it takes two to have a truce type thing. Like that is respect You have to have respect with somebody to make a truce. She understands Gina's not the type of person that would ever do that. Gina's willing to go guns blazing and take you out and deal with the consequences later, because she's driven more by her emotions than anything else. We always assumed that Jimmy was, I think, until this season, where we clearly see that Jimmy still thinks about things even when his emotions you think his emotions got the best of him. Gina doesn't at all. It's strictly emotion. And when you're dealing with a strictly emotional person, you understand, as Big Mo said, like, no, that bite is going to be hell, because it's going to come at you full throttle and it's not going to care. Down to the later in this episode when we get the scene at the club and she walks in with a very expensive bottle of alcohol and she just like bogarts her place in there, like, oh, no, I belong here. Like, this is my space. Like, I don't care who you are.
She rolled in with the Louis XIII, bro. And listen, at this point now, it's like, oh, it's about to get wild. It's about to get wild. This is probably one of the best scenes this entire season, just off of the lack of action, but just two characters, two actors face to face, the banter off of one another, the class collision that we've been waiting for. All why a bottle of Louis XIII is just being sacrificed in the middle of it here. What do they go for nowadays? About still $7,000? $4,000?
$4,000 a bottle. I back in way back in the day, I used to buy them Jones all the time. Like, them Jones is like a statement piece. You had people over and you'd be like, let's talk business and let me pour you a nice drink of something you can't actually afford to pour yourself.
Fabulous was talking about getting them in the club, and nobody ever sang those lyrics because they knew ain't nobody got $1,000 a shot for them drinks.
No, like you know what special type of stuff you got to be on to even think about $1,000 shot of anything, dude. 1942 was like $300 a shot at the club. Like, come on now. Didn't think about $1,000 a shot. But again, it's just the scene. It's just the way it's set up. It's her walking in and saying, I brought a gift to a black club and it's cognac. Extremely expensive cognac. And then Big Mo's reaction to it. That's what I mean by them two playing off of each other. That's what I mean by Gina's mindset through this entire episode. So instead of focusing on just the beginning scene here, what did you think about her mindset this entire episode? Through the course of everything with her and Big Mo, through the course of everything with her and Jimmy, just through the course of everything with every character, and just how single-minded focused she is in this episode.
You know what's crazy? This is probably the first episode that Gina was not irrational to me. I think she held a big level of accountability. She went and had all her checks and balances done to pretty much validate her actions. Everything she did, she didn't go off the limb like she usually do. I think everything she did, there was a cause and effect action to it. So we usually see her act first, think second. And obviously that's a lot of what she looks for with her boys. But for whatever reason, this time I felt like she just took a very reasonable route of doing reasonable things. Like she had it right, and I don't know, it's a change in pace for her. I think more or less I'm more curious to see what's next for her next episode, considering the conclusion of this episode.
You are now the first black man ever to call anybody walking with a bottle of cognac freely into a club as being rational. Just let you know that no one has ever said that about any person, white or black, walking in with a bottle of cognac into a club and they being rational. That the last time someone with money did that, Kanye West got on stage and told y'all Taylor Swift didn't matter. Like this, it's a reason why you don't walk with cognac freely anywhere, including New Orleans.
This the good stuff, man. So she gets the pass, and she gifted it. That's not what people usually do with that. They it's face mob, and that's exactly Big Mo did exactly what normal motherfuckers would do. Took it to the head and pour some out for the homies. I mean, at this point, she hit all the cliches. So, she might as well got on stage next.
I stopped buying expensive liquor for Negroes because goddamn, you poor any bit of my 13th out for the homies. The homies, nah, man. The homies' life wasn't worth that much money. You better get Paul Masson or E&J and pull out for the homies, but we're not pulling out this for the homies. But speaking of the homies in bad predicaments, next up we get Eugene in jail. We get a very interesting scene, the way this is set up between Eugene and Lee, as her just talking about the charges against him, her trying to get him out. And then the following scene, we get Lee attempting to make a deal for Eugene here. Now, carrying over from season 1, the feeling she had about his brother and what she could not do to save him, into this season here with Eugene, especially at this moment. We'll talk about what happens later on the episode a little bit later here. But what do you think about this reintroduction of them in this episode? And when you think about just everything she went through with season 1 with Kofi, and her looks like attempting to make it up with Eugene.
And now on a complete opposite end here was Lee that had no confidence, no plan. Oh, what a shame. What a disgrace to the title of this show. Like the lack of law being exchanged between scene to scene. I said, oh, this poor black man literally has a public defender that's his friend. This is the worst of the worst here.
Like, the horrible, absolutely horrible. This joke out here making side bets with the prosecutor. Hey man, I got a 2 in the possible. What can we get? What can we get?
She definitely tried to do a 15-leg parlay with $1 and thought she was gonna get rich tonight. What a shame.
I think it's more interesting because we get, at times, especially with Eugene, we're seeing this young man's life in a balance. We're seeing him have that struggle of wanting to be true because out of fear, but also like wanting to stick up and be like, yeah, I did this, but I did it for a reason. Like, and no one so far, especially at this point in the episode, is brought up later on that no one has fully still asked him why he took that shot.
Not at all.
And I think that's the thing that's possibly angering him even more, especially when you're hearing 30 years, you're hearing these long sentences, and you're like, wait a minute. No, I did this for a purpose. I did this for a reason. And no one's asking me why I took that shot at Carlo to begin with, even though it ended up taking someone else's life, which would technically be manslaughter, and it wouldn't be that, and it would be 10 to 15 years instead of the 25 to life that they're attempting to throw at Eugene. But again, I just think it's interesting here, especially with Lee, because we are seeing this, a lawyer, someone in a profession, just being completely unraveled. Like she just doesn't know what direction to go into. And I think you nailed it on the head properly. This is why your lawyer can't be your friend. Like, you need your lawyer to tell you the blunt, honest truth. You cannot be my friend. Kim Kardashian, you cannot be my lawyer here, as Lee is portraying in this episode here. Wanting to get everybody free, and then you out here making deals that make absolutely no sense. Yeah. But next up, we get Jimmy, as, again, we seeing Jimmy here getting ready at what is Fear's place, and Gina put him out and saying, don't come back until my daughter is home. Now, I think Jimmy just comes across somber in this scene. It's not much to talk about necessarily, but we do see him a little more focused on not necessarily bringing Fear home, but more focused on what he feels his next plan should be, or next course of action should be. What did you think about in this moment? It's a small moment, but nothing's ever small with Jimmy. We understand everything is done down to him putting on his tie the way he did in his episode. Everything is done for a reason here. What do you think about this setup for Jimmy?
It leads to another really good scene with him.
Oh yeah, we're about to get into that. Yep.
Yeah, but not to jump the gun. I definitely was like, he's very modest. What the hell is he up to? I just kept thinking,
exactly.
What is he up to?
He one of the people that can't be peaceful. You be like, nah, man, you got a plan. I'd be damned if you just putting on your tie all nicely and being cordial to people. Like, who you about to kill today?
Yeah, it's like that cousin who calls you and you just like, what? Oh, here we go. What do they want? Yeah. And they're like, hey, Lucas, how you doing today? Oh man, peace and blessings.
I got so many of them calls. Good morning, King. I'm like, oh shit. Grand Rising. Man, you never want a Grand Rising. Don't ever give me a Grand Rising. That means you want something.
You know when you get those random messages that be like, yeah, did you watch the Chris Rock stand up? Like, yeah, they're like, oh, what'd you think? You're like, oh, it was all right. And they're like, oh, cool. Then you see the dots on the screen. You're like, oh, here we go. Then I'm like, yeah. So you think I could hold a little something?
Because they clearly gonna go to the part where he mentioned money in any accord.
Of course.
He's talking about his mom, how she struggled and stuff. Man, like, cuz I'm in I'm in that type of predicament right now.
Yeah.
But like,
like,
oh, but again, as you said, he's very somber here, but it does set up a great scene next up with Carlo looking like he's finally taking the lead or taking a position in his organization and doing some good. As one, if you're in the tech, this is a great scene set up here about all the new cameras and all the systems that Carlo has now set up where they can monitor everything humanly possible here.
Yeah.
While the tech stuff is cool, the better part is, what do you think about the way Carlo is portrayed here? From what we've seen so far this entire season to this moment here.
Yeah. Once again, Jimmy, what are you up to? Because he gave this man Carlo the utmost words of affirmation. And honestly, to not just be completely shitty towards Carlo, I gotta commend him. He had a nice PowerPoint presentation here.
Yeah,
let him know about all the gadgets and what they can do, and he definitely was more rational about his approach, and he listened and he consumed information and feedback back. So is Carlo turning the page here of trying to prove his worth to likings of his dad, not his mom? She's already, who knows at this point now. Yeah.
Anyway, she makes sure to blow it up at the end.
Yeah.
Right after Carlo does his best Tim Cook. She makes sure to come in and blow everything up humanly possible.
Yeah. So good for Carlo, man. I mean, after he dropped the ball being the goddad, I guess he figured might as well get in IT, and here he goes here.
Oh man, not Carlo taking the black route here in the IT. Said, man, look here, let me go out this joint and buy these creds and
let me
get
some certifications out here real quick.
Took a couple of A++ courses and said, yeah, let me show you what I can do now, Dad. But again, it's a proud moment because Carlo has seemed so irresponsible up until this moment. And I think that's what the audience grabs onto, is because amazingly, again, we've always said there's not really many good people on here, but there are still moments of these people that we acknowledge as bad people that can still make you proud. Like, you kind of feel as proud as Jimmy does when Carlo's doing his presentation. Yeah, you're like, oh, like, is this your niche? Like, dude, you're finally becoming the man that he's been wanting you to be. And then your mom comes and blows up everything, and she tells Jimmy, basically, I need Big Mo dead, and I need her gone, and you need to do something about this immediately. Again, it plays into what we already talked about with Gina. Like, she clearly is showing her bite here, saying that I can't have her here at this point. Yeah, like, not next to this hotel.
I also think, and this could be a stretch here, but also think that Carlo's showing a little bit of intuitiveness and also to be able to pick up a different craft. So one, there was the issue about him insecurity and the lack of him not knowing where people were at and just not doing his job effectively. And instead of going back to do that job good, he found another way in order to provide better results. I think his dad has to look at him and say, because it's not an act of genius here, but I think this intuitiveness sort of is like Jimmy.
Yes.
Jimmy's clever. Jimmy finds a way, and Jimmy has his resources and his intimidation and whatnot. But I think when one way isn't the way, and one way doesn't provide a solution, you're able to come back with another way. And I think that's what he did. I think Jimmy has to. I think he did acknowledge that and appreciate
Yeah.
that. But he still says, you know, you're my son. Put your damn tie on. You have to answer to folks, unlike me. So remember that.
And that's just him letting him know the business portion of it. Absolutely, that's one of my favorite scenes of this whole episode of this whole season. It's just them having that conversation about how you dress around people. And he says, "You still have to wear that for right now." He said, "I'm the boss. I don't wear things of that nature anymore." It's a signal of power that he's trying to always teach Carlo. This is the first time I ever thought that, you know what, Carlo is kind of almost like Jimmy. Because it's always been played the opposite. Because clearly we always see he's not as tough, he's not as stern as Jimmy was. So we always assume he was more like Gina. And now we clearly seeing that is not the case here. He just had to find his niche, kind of possibly the way Jimmy had to find his niche to get from under Gina's father. I'm guessing that's the correlation that they're attempting to give us here. But speaking of correlations, next up we get again Big Mo. Here first, we get the thing where she has the money for the connect in Houston. Everything's bagged up. Everything's good to go. We also see her put in plans in place for their grand opening to make sure that their stash houses and everything else is still protected. At this moment, what did you think was going to be the outcome of everything she was setting up here? Because at this point, it seems like Big Mo has everything lined up. Like with the money, with the club opening up, like she's in extremely high spirits right here before we later see what happens in this episode. But at this moment, what did you think was going to be the outcome for Big Mo in this episode?
Yeah, very. It was I don't know, it was like either foreshadowing or just like looming that like or eerie that like something bad was going to happen. As you just said, all these positive things, we get the zoom of the ring, and you're thinking like, oh, she's thinking about something, but then she decides not to actually bring it. So you just like, oh boy, we're about to have that shoulda, coulda, woulda moment here. And obviously we know Gina is all heads towards getting to that club and trying to cause some ruckus or something like that. I don't know. It just was when too much is going good, we all know that something has to happen bad. And I, for a moment, I was like, oh, it's gonna be her shawty. It's gonna be a shawty, 100%. And well, I wasn't right, but see, that's what happens when you do 17 leg parlays. All right, you gotta take it easy nowadays. But it was just interesting just to see like with everything going right, what would go wrong, and then what went wrong, which I don't know when we're gonna talk about, but when we went wrong, I was just kind of like, huh? I guess
I got so many. We're definitely gonna get into that soon. Next up, again, we get Lee back on the scene again, out this jump, shooting craps to get Eugene the best deal humanly possible. And she brings him the offer, which is snitch on Desire or get 30 years in prison. And while Eugene is clearly not a member of YSL here, as he refused to take the deal to snitch on Desire, you just got to wonder here, what do you think? And here we can close out the chapter of Eugene for this episode, because I think that's the most important part here. As we get this offer for Eugene, then we get even a better offer given to Eugene. But Eugene rejects everything humanly possible because he doesn't want to admit that he's guilty. What do you think about him playing with Russian roulette, technically with his life here, just so he can say, and if I get in front of someone and tell them what happened, they'll understand, and then you can't find me guilty of anything.
Maturity. He knows his fate if he gets in jail. He knows what happened to his brother, and he knows it's the culture around the community here. And that's not me projecting on the show realistically, but it's been said numerous times. And even when even though we do these recaps of the show, there's other things we don't cover. Like if you listen to sometimes on the police scanners, they mention blackmail this, blackmail that. The justice system ain't really rocking in the way. I mean, hell, Lee talked about it in this episode actually about
Yes.
the system. So like, it's not a good chance for him to one. He knows if he goes to jail and he does the time, he's done. And I think the maturity is it because he's standing up for himself. And while a lot of people have tried to suppress him in numerous ways over the seasons, I think this is his way of saying, like, listen, I'm going to bank on myself. And I actually think it's kind of logical because one, Lee wasn't doing it for him. But also I think too, for everything that Lee was saying about him, and I think maybe others have even said about him before, he's a young black male. And this seems very circumstantial. Is it, you know, why you could say, you know, did he do it? Did he not do it? You know, that doesn't technically get proven to go in his favor. But I think if he gets up there and he tells his story at his age and understand why, which would be the first time that we actually get to hear it in a way, I think we're setting up for a scene that's going to convince not only the viewers, but it makes sense for what may happen with the story. Because I damn sure don't see him doing the time. I think there will be some level of a technicality in terms of what happens here. So it's good. It's good television for them to do it this way.
I mean, down to the point that at the end, when he rejects the final deal, and it's just basically you got to plead guilty, and I think it's get 10 years, which compared to 30 is very, very light. And play with good time served. I mean, he could get out in 5 to 4, somewhere in that area, but it wasn't necessarily with Eugene here, in which this is why I love the way they're playing it this year. It literally has nothing to do with the time that they're attempting to give him.
Yeah.
It's that he's finally at the point where he's like, no, like the truth needs to come out. Like if he gets on that stand and he tells the entire story of, hey, my brother was killed in prison. The people who killed my brother in prison blew up my house and killed the remainder of my family. I blame this one person for it. At that point, I think it's called shucks, I'm forgetting the name. When you're not insane. At the moment of the crime. It's a saying that if you commit a crime as a reaction in a moment, you can't be claimed as being guilty.
Oh, I don't even know if that's new to me. I don't know if I've heard that before.
Yeah, I am spazzing and forgetting the term that is used for that. But yes, if you commit a crime in the moment, you can get off on a technicality. Yeah. Because again, if you have so much trauma happen to you of losing your brother, they're blowing up your house. And remember, in the first season, the next thing we see is Eugene attempting to kill Carlo. So the goal is for it not to be premeditated.
Yeah.
Because if you thought it out, then it's a problem. But if he just grabs a gun and he's a kid, no one's going to fully think that. So again, if him getting on the stand, him wanting to tell his story would expose not only him, it would expose the Baxters, it would expose Charlie, it would expose Michael. Everything would come out. And then at that point, there's no way you're going to punish the only black kid who decided to tell the truth to bring down the whole system. That's what I'm waiting for to see what happens with Eugene in the next episode, because that could be the most interesting part of the entire season is what happens to him.
Right.
Next up, as we go down order, we can rush through some of these things because they're not important. We already talked about Gina coming through with the bottle of Remy and telling Big Mo, hey, take a shot for the homies. We're going to pull this up. We're going to do everything humanly possible in this club. We see Big Mo celebrating because she's at the height of owning this establishment for her girl, which is something else we'll talk about. But again, not much to talk about. We already talked about it. Gina crazy. We already know that.
Well, quickly, because you know, and our fans are the folks we watch this, even with the episode being available now, because we're late for the recap. Still did not prep, which means I didn't go and like research anything or watch any other reviews and whatnot. But if I'm not mistaken, Gina had a talk with another lady, and that lady is what's the face's
about to bring up too.
Yeah, yes. So that's what's the face's mother. That is
from her trauma group.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And her son died of a drug overdose. to
Yeah.
heroin,
Yeah.
which ties it to Big Mo,
Yeah.
which, as she said, I got away for you. How would you feel if a drug dealer moved into your neighborhood and opened up a business?
Yeah.
It's a way that Gina attempts to play. Oh, I was going to get into that next because I just wanted to get past
Yeah.
get my jokes off about Gina still walking in with a bottle of cognac into a black club and offering that as a gift. I mean, she could have done. I mean, at that point, she might as well just had Ducey or Ciroc in her hand and gave that as a gift. But yeah, let's get into this moment because I think this is an extremely pivotal moment that they kind of lay the foundation for in this episode, but then they just leave it right there for right now. But we clearly see Gina putting plans in motion again. This is what I mean by she clearly has a bite, and her bite is extremely vicious because she'll do whatever she has to do to
Yeah.
get rid of Big Mo. So when you saw this scene, because you kind of brought up already, but when you saw this scene, did you think we would get a conclusion in this episode, or you think this would be something they would stretch out? Because Your Honor is not known for stretching anything out.
Yeah. Yeah, and we make sure we are very much bring that awareness to our audience each and every week. And this one was definitely one that I was like, wait, what episode is this? I was like, hell, it doesn't even matter. They can wrap this up right in a couple of minutes here. But again, I just told you this was a lot about the checks and balances this episode. And I think Gina, this is just another episode of her going to get validation in terms of her actions.
Yeah.
And there's proper strategizing in the things and significant steps she would have to take next. As we see that if you did not know any better, this was an episode of Mob Wives. And there was the only thing was missing was mimosas, and everything else was exactly what it needed to be. You had
Not
them
Gina
saying,
being Big Ange. Shit.
Oh boy. Yep. And that'll do it for my comments.
Oh shit. Yeah, that was funny. Next up, we get a scene that we kind of been waiting for, especially the way this episode began with Olivia already pulling her Michael Myers against Michael and just popping up at his house. We get Olivia in fear and her laying all the cards. This is what shocked me here, that Olivia laid all the cards on the table for Fia of exactly what she wanted to do here. And it was Michael who then decided to lie to Fia about him basically not knowing who Olivia was. What can you see as possible the ramifications of this moment with Michael as he then decides at this point in time, not necessarily to protect Fia and Rocco, but to protect the point that he knew who Olivia was already?
Yeah. Also, like, what more may Olivia tell as well too that could be very detrimental to his relationship with Fia. Yeah, I definitely was like, wait a minute, what? But yeah, I think it was definitely a precautionary move of what to come, but also good for television because this definitely stirs up all the drama here. So and it obviously gives us a significant reason to have more Rosie for the final two episodes.
We know your focus, sir. We clearly at this point know your focus here. Is all you need to see is Mookie. That's all you need to see. More and more Rosie. And you good to go. I get it. Well, the next significant moment, and one happens necessarily before this scene, but really blows up in the following scene, and that is the robbery of Big Mo's establishments. First, we see the robbery, and at this point, why does Chris have a mask on? It's clearly him. Unless you're blind, you clearly see it's him. But he robs all her houses, and then it gets back to Big Mo as she's enjoying her time at her club, watch her girlfriend sing a song that I'm clearly wondering who she stole that song from because it was an amazing song.
Dangerous Woman?
I just don't know. Yeah.
I ain't really going to get myself fried, so I'm just going to look it up. But I definitely know the song.
It's my turn.
Ariana Grande. There we go.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
Now I don't feel bad about no. I'm about to say this is my moment. You already had your moment already about not knowing the song. You definitely should have known exactly, and you thought it was an original song. that Jukebox was singing or something for one of our other reviews. I remember because they fried you for it. No one can fry me for not knowing anything about Ariana Grande. I don't know a thing this girl has ever sung a day in my life, but it is a beautiful rendition that's being done
Yeah.
as we see the correlation of doing that song along with Big Mo being robbed. But then we get the reaction when Big Mo gets to, I think, her club / stash house, and she notices all the money is gone. But not only is the money gone, it's a callback, as you said, about regrets that the ring is gone here. What do you think, especially with Big Mo knowing exactly who did this? Where do you think this is going to take her and Desire at in these last couple episodes to close out this season?
Somebody gonna try to pin something on everything on somebody. That's where it's going to be. I think it's going to come down now to just like who is the top person, and who, and I don't know, it's all out war. But obviously the dysfunctions within, especially with the Baxters, obviously knocking on their back door, but also the law is coming at them full steam ahead. As you know, folks want Desire, folks want the Baxters, folks want Michael Desiato now. Like everybody wants somebody, but I think now to be that person sitting at the top of the throne for it is not a good look. And I think that Big Mo may try to opt out of this, and maybe she has it, maybe she allows it to be Chris and them. Maybe she does allows it to be them and flip the game on them. But yeah, this is so dumb. This is so dumb. Because for one moment, I'll say, wait a minute. When they came through, I was like, this better not be Lil Mo. After they had their little, yeah, we're going to stop her because we don't want no more drugs on the street.
You already knew. I said it. I said it last week. Jay-Z put it best. No one wins when a family feuds.
Yeah.
And this is the path we're going down towards. Because it's almost setting up where everybody has to lose. Like, drug dealing doesn't end positively if you try to make it a long-term career.
Yeah.
Like being a drug dealer is like being an NFL running back. You got a good 5 to 7 years, and then you need to find your way out of it as soon as humanly possible here. And I think that's the path we're going down with Desire here, down with Big Mo from this whole robbery with Chris, and then her knowing it's him. I think that's what we need to pay attention to, is her knowing it's him.
Yep.
Her knowing he still has a family around. Like, she was just at your mama house. Like, she knows everything, everywhere you could be at. Like, for him to even do this, when you say, you know, it kind of makes no sense. It's, you put your entire family in danger. You got to move everybody out. Big mama, little mama, auntie down the street. Everybody got to get out of
the because like, you know, explosive finale is loading up right now.
Exactly. But let's close out the next two characters, because I want to save the end for the conversation of Jimmy and Gina. So the next thing to close out is Michael and Fia. Here next up, they talk about everything Olivia told Fia, along with Michael telling Fia maybe you need to get away. Him giving her the college grants and certificates, everything he had set up for the future of Adam, and him putting it in Fia's name for giving her a way to actually escape her family. What do you think about this setup with Michael and him doing everything for Fia while still trying to get information to make sure Olivia did not tell Fia exactly why Michael got out of prison in the first place? And then flip it to the end where we get Olivia and Michael having a conversation about the Baxters, and Michael telling her, instead of Fia doing it, I'll get you whatever information on Jimmy do you need to take him down.
Yeah, this is definitely, I can't even think of the word of this here, but like this is absolutely him in protective mode of her by any means necessary. And I guess maybe he's just like, fuck it, like it is what it is, you know, for the sake of his grandchild and his, you know, daughter-ish lady friend something. Maybe
I hope it's daughterish and not lady friend.
Oh,
that's
you're
a
right.
sick transition. You can't You can't be Rocco's step granddaddy. That ain't gonna work, Joe.
Yeah, I just think he's just trying to he's trying to provide them a future. I think that's it. And I think he knows like it's not too much more he got left. So I don't know.
No, you said it right. At this point, Michael's on borrowed time, and I think he
Yeah.
knows that much about it.
Or just tired.
Well, that to me, that's what makes it borrowed time.
Yeah.
It's because we already see him attempt to kill himself.
Yeah.
So I think every day after that moment of killing himself is, I need a reason to do this. And the reason is to get Fio and Rocco to safety. Understanding as long as she's under her father, nothing positive will come from her and Rocco.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
this is his way to try to get her out, down to him telling her, like, I think you should leave.
Yeah.
This is enough money for you to start a new life. Like, take this and go. I think that was his main purpose of, like, I need to protect you. And the only way I can protect you is to get you away from your father and to get you away from Olivia. And if I have to take down your father to do so, I'll do just that. Because that is I think the crux of the main setup at the end between him and Olivia is that conversation. Because finally, she got Michael to do the one thing he was fighting against doing, which was telling on the Baxters, which is a very interesting place that you put Michael in as we going into the last couple episodes of this season.
Yeah.
Now, next up, one of the best scenes humanly possible on this rooftop terrace between Gina and Jimmy, as Gina lays all the cards on the table here, as you said, accountability here, of her saying, I basically should have left you when our son died, because you had no chance to make that right.
Yeah.
What did you just think about overall, just from the way this series has progressed, the way this season has progressed, and these two characters? What did you think about this scene here between Jimmy and Gina, and just how Gina lays everything out for Jimmy?
I say yes, because now we got 2 more episodes left of Jimmy getting ready to go ape shit.
Clearly.
Because now he has detached himself from every bit of consciousness sitting around in the world. So without Redhead and without Gina, I think now he's just gonna go crazy, do what he want to do. But what is he gonna do? Who knows? Because he's just been chilling. He got his whole little property going, and he's getting ready to do his little building and shit. So, but yeah, I don't know. Or does he do Gina this last solid and try to go after Lil Mo?
I mean, why at this point, why would he?
I don't know. Same reason why Chris and them ran through the club. Like, what was the point?
Well, Chris and them wanted revenge on Big Mo. Jimmy don't want revenge at this point. He was only being pushed by Gina to do so.
Yeah.
And Gina has just tore apart his heart. I can't even say broke it. She tore that motherfucker up, ripped it into little papers, and then tossed that shit in the air like LeBron tosses powder before the games. Like, Gina did everything humanly possible. Hey, down to the point when you said, I said yes, finally. When you said that, I thought you was about to say, finally a woman is taking accountability for something. I thought that's where you was going to go with it.
I mean, no, and granted, yes, that's the answer here. But like, no, I don't need to give her a third time of blowing her head up about like doing something reasonable here. But it's true. Oh, it's true.
So, any final thoughts on part 18 of season 2 of Your Honor?
It's a dope episode, man. I just think like it shifted so much. It also kind of re-established who people's targets are, the conflicts between characters and whatnot. But there's a lot, and I think with all this happening, Eugene, he's about to go to trial. And what is that going to look like for a show named Your Honor that has not been in trial all season?
Hey, that is a good point. We'll show name Your Honor. We have not been to trial. I'm just waiting for Eugene to get on the stand, like Nino Brown. It wasn't me. It was the educated nigga in the suit. And pointing to Jimmy.
Yeah, because Jimmy go to every court case for whatever reason.
Hey,
So yeah, he'll just be there chilling, wanting to know. But also, like, they want him dead. So will they
that's
show?
another issue.
Yeah.
And then Eugene has almost proof that not only does Jimmy want him dead, the cops want him dead, Charlie want him dead,
Jeez, yeah.
like Big Mo wants him dead. Like, he's the most wanted kid in America. And once he tells his story, you kind of wonder exactly where this possibly could go. Even if he's given the opportunity to tell his story, you kind of wonder exactly how could this all blow up on everybody for this show. But thank y'all for tuning in to episode 218. Comment, like, subscribe. Let us know what your thoughts.
208 part 18. There we go.
Look here, it is too many twos there. I'm not from Baltimore. You don't get me to get confused with that 222. Nah. Season 2, episode 209, chapter 18 of Your Honor. Let us know what you think about Eugene and what's the road we should see next with him. Let us know what you think about Jimmy and Gina and that relationship. Let us know if Gina's the new Don Dada bringing a bottle of Louis to Big Mo. Let us know what you think Big Mo's going to do about Chris and him robbing her and her knowing about it, especially taking a ring that she's planning to give to the love of her life. Let us know what you think about Michael. Is he going to finally flip on Jimmy? Will his secrets be revealed to Fia? Again, check this out. Check all the other stuff out that clearly y'all had a chance to check out because we skipped this episode.
And they were like,
so y'all got to check out everything else. The point that y'all counted and said, wait a minute, it's a show missing here. Like, I understand y'all gave us 8 shows of reviews to watch this week.
Never
enough, y'all missed Your Honor.
Never
enough. It is. We appreciate it though because you all hold us accountable at even times where we were already holding ourselves accountable, and you all just took it to another level, and we do absolutely appreciate it. So please check out our on-time review of the next episode of Your Honor and every other thing we about to drop this week. Peace, people.
See y'all.
I keep